Happy New Year, folks. Welcome back to #AskGSM. This time, for the first time in 2026, I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Thank you guys for joining live as always or watching after the fact. I greatly appreciate it. This is episode 632 for Tuesday, January 6, 2025 or 2026. It's going to take me a while to get used to saying 2026. Hope you guys are doing well, enjoying the new year so far, enjoying the new week. We did have Raw last night, the first Raw of the year, caused a lot of chatter online, how bad the show was and all this other nonsense. We'll be talking more about that on WrestleRant Radio on Thursday. I have something to say about the feedback to the show. I'm not going to sit here and say that it was the best Raw I've seen in, I guess it was the best Raw I've seen all year. If you call it the best Raw all year so far, or the worst year of the year so far, the worst Raw of the year all year so far, you're technically not wrong. So we're going to get into more of that on WrestleRant Radio on Thursday. We will address more of it here today as well on #AskGSM as we answer your fine questions. So let's get through the housekeeping stuff first before we get going with the chat. And again, if you are joining live, first of all, thank you. Second of all, be sure to drop a question or a comment in the chat. I will address it a little bit later on before we get to the scheduled questions as well. Shout out to the channel members, Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve1, at Swerve1 on IG, Mr. Marceau himself, RJ Marceau, at RJ_Marceau on X, John Ritland, Real Honesty with John Ritland. More on him in a moment. We can check out his channel right here on YouTube, Real Honesty with John Ritland. Shout out to Richie as well, who I saw there in the chat. What's going on, Richie? You can check out his channel, Red Planet Wrestling, right here on YouTube. And last but not least, Average Grunt at gruntwrestling.bluesky.social on Blue Sky. More information on how to become a WrestleRant All Access Pass channel member to help support the channel and get other perks, including shout-outs like being, here on the live streams every Tuesday and Thursday at the beginning and end of every single live stream that we do. Top billing on shows like #AskGSM and WrestleRant Radio. Early access and ad-free access to certain videos here on the channel, and much more if you are a WrestleRant All Access Pass channel member for only $5 a month. More information on that down below. Also down below, be sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications to be notified every single time we go live here on the channel and every single time I upload new content. Speaking of going live, I mentioned a moment ago that we will be live, of course, on Thursday for WrestleRant Radio, our first time back on Thursday since before the holidays. We were on Friday last week for our big prediction show, not only of the first Raw of the year, but for 2026 as a whole. Really fun show with Mr. Marceau. Go back and check that out from last Friday. I know he was muted for like the first 10 minutes that he was on. I had a fucking audio fuck up there. I apologize. New year, same malfunctions, same issues. That was my fault. But we did correct course soon after, and we ended up having a really fun show. So go back and check that out from last week. And the week before that was the revealing of the results and the reviewing of the results of the 2025 WWE AEW Year in Review Awards. So that was the day after Christmas. This Thursday, what the fuck we're talking about, most likely the first Raw of the year and any other news and notes that pop up going into Thursday. So we'll talk about that on Thursday. Before then, though, we will be doing another, not necessarily a surprise, I guess, because I am announcing it. I will be live, most likely, unless something changes, tomorrow on Wednesday. We are doing a rare Wednesday stream. I guess we've done hashtag on Wednesdays before, but a rare non-WrestleRant Radio, non-#AskGSM stream. We will be live tomorrow. Myself and John Ritland, who I mentioned a moment ago in the channel member shout-outs. We will be live tomorrow around 11:15 a.m. Eastern Time to review and break down the biggest, best, worst movies of the years that we saw. So we've done a video like this once a year for the last few years. It was something that John and I came up with. I think this might be our fourth year doing it. We did it for 2022, 2023, and 2024. We're going to be doing it for 2025 as well. So join us tomorrow around 11:15 noon Eastern Time, probably around 11:15. That's the time that we talked about. So we'll probably be live around then. I will be on video. I'm not sure if John will be, but nonetheless, we will be reviewing the biggest, best, worst, biggest flops, film-wise, of 2025. So if you want some rare non-wrestling talk here on the channel, you can get it tomorrow here around 11:15 Eastern Time on Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. I'm looking forward to that. John is always a treat to talk to about movies and really just in general. But we will be live tomorrow. talking all things cinema in 2025. Last thing I do want to mention here before we get going with the chat, if you want to send in a question to this very show and have your question be answered on next week's show, if you can't join us live, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post. I usually put up on Monday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section down below. I will include your video, or include your question, not necessarily your video, I guess, your question in next week's edition. I appreciate the support. So let's pull up the chat here, see what you guys are saying, have been saying for the last little while. Johnny said, in reference to today's headline question that we will be getting to momentarily, Johnny said, no, Drew McIntyre will not win the WWE title from Cody Rhodes on SmackDown. Triple H is going to play it safe like the Duffer Brothers did with Stranger Things. Yeah, I guess the Duffer Brothers did kind of play it safe, right? I mean, the only way I would say they really played it safe was by killing 11. Well, I mean, I guess let me say this. Let me say this. If you have not seen the series finale, first of all, it's been about a week. Second of all, skip ahead by like 15 seconds if you don't want to be spoiled. I guess I just said something there, but not technically. All right, spoiler alert. Here we go. I guess they did kind of play it safe in the sense that they killed 11, but then implied that she could still be alive. So that was the only way that I saw that they played it safe. I really liked the Stranger Things finale on the whole. I said that last week here on the show with Mr. Marceau when we reviewed it. So go back and check that out from last Thursday if you're interested. But yeah, no, I enjoyed the the series finale personally. Johnny added that Breaking Bad still has the best last season in series finale. You know what? I have not yet seen Breaking Bad. I know what Breaking Bad is, obviously, but I haven't watched the show. I have family members who did and really liked it, so I'll probably have to go back and watch it myself at some point. It's obviously gotten rave reviews. It's not really something that particularly interests me. The whole, like, meth lab shit or whatever the fuck it is. I love Bryan Cranston. So maybe at some point I will go back and watch it. It's just a massive commitment with how many episodes there are and how long each episode is. You know, people shit on the 10-episode season nowadays. And I get that. I totally understand that. But I almost prefer that to a degree as I get older and I have less time. I actually prefer the shorter seasons because if it's like a fucking 30-episode season, then it's just hard for me to kind of get through. Nathaniel, what's going on? He said, hi, man, do you have a favorite Stranger Things season? Probably season 4. I thought season 5 was actually really good on the whole. I did not mind this season. I did not hate it as much as other people did. I had no issue with it. Overall, I had nitpicks and certain things that did not make sense. But that overall, it was a good season. Probably season 4, though. We watched them all back to back earlier this year. We binged the show in probably like a month, all 4 seasons. So a lot of them blend together. I remember season 2 being the weakest. Season 3 I liked in the mall. I did like that season. Season 4 was probably the best with the whole Vecna tie-in thing and kind of implying that everything that happened prior to that point was all because of him and like the Mind Flare connection and all that other sort of shit. They did incorporate some stuff that did not ultimately get paid off. I do realize that. But I think season 4 might have been the best. And people will tell you the first one, and the first season is very good. The first season is great. I can understand the appeal of the show because of the nostalgia and the throwback 80s nature of it and whatnot. But at the same time, I think season 4 did the best job of tying everything together in storyline-wise. I thought it was the strongest season, in my personal opinion. Johnny said, my prediction for the end of the year, world champion Kyle Fletcher, I'm going to assume you mean, not Kyle O'Reilly. Women's champion Mercedes Moné, TBS champion Tekla, men's tag team champions, the Swerving Hangmen, so Swerve and Hangman. Women's champion Tony and Mina, or women's tag team champions Tony and Mina, and Will Ospreay wins the C2. All right, I mean, those are fine predictions. I could see all of those things happening. I still don't think Swerve and Hangman will be together as partners by then, but it is possible. Johnny said, I don't care to predict for the numerous men's mid-card titles. Yeah, they have, at this point, 4 fucking mid-card championships. They have now that Jon Moxley won the Continental Championship, the Unified Championship is no longer unified. So we have a Continental Championship, an International Championship, a TNT Championship, and the fucking National Championship. That is so excessive and so unnecessary. They have a great roster. They don't need 4 mid-card titles. That is just ridiculous. I'm sorry. Johnny said, your ranking of these 3 stages of hell matches: Stone Cold versus Triple H, Shawn Michaels versus Triple H, Cena versus Ryback, Randy Orton versus Triple H, and Johnny Wrestling versus Adam Cole, baby, boom. Okay, so I think the best was Stone Cold and Triple H. I think that one's an easy answer. From 2001, I think that would have been No Way Out. Stone Cold and Triple H would have been 1. I'll probably go Shawn Michaels and Triple H 2. Cena and Ryback would be last, and then Orton and Triple H above that, and then Johnny Wrestling versus Adam Cole in the middle. So I would probably, if there was only been 5 in the last 25 years, which is insane, I would probably go from best to worst. And even Cena and Ryback was fine, but like they had a fucking lumberjack match. Like, who gives a shit? They did have an ambulance match as part of that 3 stages of hell match, but Ryback was never going to win, and that was far from like one of the best matches of 2013. They had far better matches that year than that one. But I would probably go Stone Cold versus Triple H 1, Shawn Michaels versus Triple H 2, Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano 3 from NXT back in 2019, Randy Orton versus Triple H 4. Don't really have any fond memories of that match from the Bash or the Great American Bash or whatever the fuck it was in 2009. And then 5 would be Cena versus Ryback. What would be your ideal match stipulation for a 3 stages of hell? I will get to that a little bit later on. Someone asked me about that. As far as the Drew McIntyre question is concerned, someone asked me about what I would have done for the stipulation, so I'll get to that a little bit later on. But he said his ideal match stipulations for a 3 stages of hell match would be: I Quit as the first one, weapon-filled barbed wire steel cage is the second. That is completely fucking ridiculous. And Last Man Standing as the third. Okay. I mean, the weapon-filled barbed wire steel cage, it sounds like something straight out of AEW. That also sounds like it would be the third stipulation and not the second one, in my opinion. But that does sound vicious. It sounds more vicious than what we're getting on SmackDown. I'll give you that. Nathaniel said also, his 2026 prediction is Copeland and Christian being tag team champions in WWE. And in WWE, we get Cody versus Roman at WrestleMania, but we'll see. I think both of those things are probably happening. I hate that we're probably getting Cody and Roman 3 at WrestleMania. I really don't give a fuck about that at all. At least now. I think I said this before, but if they were to do the match again down the road with Cody as the heel, and I still would not turn him heel this year, Nathaniel said, in addition to that comment, he can see Cody Rhodes turning heel this year. Is it possible? Sure. Do I think they should? No. Unless the boos get overwhelming to the point where they have to turn him heel, which is entirely possible, I still would not do it this year. My personal opinion. But I think Copeland and Christian winning the tag titles feels like a slam dunk. And then I would think that maybe Cope and Christian will retire after that. At least Cope will. I think his contract expires this year. So unless they stretch it out, unless they extend his contract, he should be done in wrestling this year. Or at least in AEW. I doubt he would go back to WWE and have one final match after he's already had fucking 3 other final matches there, but I guess anything's possible. Johnny said, scratch that. Ladder match, thumbtack, and staple human torch. What is the fucking third stipulation? That sounds crazy. Johnny said, Swerve versus Moxley, Mark versus Darby, Tony versus Sky Blue, Kyle versus Hangman would be all great AEW 3 stages of hell matches, bloody and violent. Sky Blue will never be in a 3 stages of hell match in AEW. I like Sky Blue, she's just not that important. Swerve and Moxley, I guess, if Swerve and Hangman ever rekindle their feud, which they probably will down the road, I feel like they would make sense for a 3 stages of hell match. Mark Briscoe versus Darby Allin? I mean, I guess, again, what would be... You're just saying for the fact that it would be violent. Kyle Fletcher versus Hangman, I don't see that ever being that bloody, that vicious of a feud that it would need 3 stages of hell. Not that Cody and Drew is this ruthless rivalry either. I feel like that stipulation would have made more sense for Punk and McIntyre, although they had one of the best Hell in the Cell matches in recent memory in many, many years. None of those matches really stand out to me. If you're putting those people in those matches just because they're hardcore specialists, That doesn't really make the match mean more to me personally. Johnny also said, Happy New Year. Hopefully you made your New Year's resolutions. Thank you, Johnny. Hope you're having a great New Year as well. Fernando is joining us. He said, Buenos dias. Fernando, what's going on, brother? Happy New Year. He said, Triple H chickens out again on pulling the trigger on a transitional star in a huge WWE moment. CM Hogan. We're going with CM Hogan now. We had Becky Hogan last year, a few years ago. Cody Hogan, I think, at one point. Now we got CM Hogan. Jesus Christ. He said CM Hogan does not need the World Championship at this stage. The titles he won before he left WWE should be enough. He also said, I think it was too soon to take the tag titles from Charlotte and Alexa, but now I know why. Rhea Hogan and Io Hogan. So you just add on Hogan to anyone who wins a lot of matches, and I guess that's completely fucking stupid, by the way. But I know we've joked about Rhea Maivia before, but that was back when she was constantly in the world title picture. That has not been the case since WrestleMania, or at least Evolution, when they were both in the championship picture. I guess SummerSlam. They've both been in the tag team scene ever since. Is it really that bothersome to you that the Kabuki Warriors dropped the tag titles to Rhea and Io, who actually work really well as a team? And the whole CM Hogan thing, do I wish Braun Breaker won the belt last night? Yes, I've said that many times in the last month and a half. Am I upset that he won? No, I'm not upset that CM Punk retained the title. It really isn't that big of a deal. There have been far worse situations where people should have won and lost. That is not one of them. Braun Breaker will be fine. CM Hogan is fucking comical because CM Punk, in the last year, when he beat Rollins on that Netflix premiere show, he lost to Rollins in the rematch on Raw, the steel cage match at MSG last March. He lost the chamber match. He lost the Royal Rumble. He lost at WrestleMania. Failed to qualify for Money in the Bank. Lost at Saturday night's main event in that tag team match back last May. Lost at, he won the championship at SummerSlam. Immediately lost it to Seth Rollins. Lost the Clash of Castle. I mean, so give me a break with the whole fucking CM Hogan nonsense. I mean, if you're joking, that's one thing, but people apply these nicknames to situations where it doesn't make sense. And there really isn't honestly, in my personal opinion, there is no one, honestly, that nickname would apply to currently in any of these companies. That they're just constantly winning. Cody Rhodes might be the closest thing. I would not apply that to fucking CM Punk, who also lost at WrestleMania. I don't know if I mentioned that. He also lost a triple threat match at Mania last year. So CM Hogan is just ridiculous. Johnny said Triple H wants to save the big moments for Rumble, Mania, SummerSlam, and Saturday night's main event. Even then, we rarely ever get big moments at Saturday night's main event. We did it the most recent one when John Cena tapped out. And the one before that, CM Punk won the World Heavyweight Championship. But really, all the other installments, nothing of note really happened. So even that I wouldn't say. But you are right, though. Triple H does tend to save the bigger moments for the Rumble, Mania, and SummerSlam. And I would not do that. You can't, I've said this before many times, you can't just save the monumental moments for those tentpole pay-per-views because it makes everything feel like it doesn't matter. Fernando said these WWE fans are so funny. They did not care about Jericho when he was with AEW. All of a sudden, he becomes a free agent, and he's now the savior for WWE, LOL. He also said the wrestling community is sick of these older dudes hogging up the top spot before the racism folks. We're sick of Hogan clinging up on the top spot and keeping young talent down. The same with Punk. You said a whole lot there that just, I don't even know where to start. The racism folks were sick of Hogan. I mean, when people were sick of Hogan, it wasn't because they knew he was a racist. That did not come out until many years later. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Not saying Hogan's not a racist. He definitely was. But you're saying the racism folks were sick of Hogan. They were not, I mean, that's a whole other, that's like actually the least egregious thing that you said there. But people were not sick of Hogan back in the day because he was racist. That happened many, many years later. Justifiably so. They were sick of Hogan in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, whatever, because he was constantly on top. And there is proof there is proof backing that up, that Hogan is literally written into his contract back in WCW that he had to win this and win that and get merch royalties for that, even though it didn't have his name on it and all this other shit. CM Punk is legit the exact opposite of that. And what would you prefer? CM Punk loses all of his matches? I just pointed out to you maybe 8 different instances last year alone on pay-per-view when it mattered most that CM Punk lost. He also lost at Survivor Series too and ate the fucking pin. So sure, he won last night, but let's not get it twisted. People are very short-sighted and thinking, oh, CM Punk beat Breakker, he's buried. Stop the whining. Let's be realistic here. That's what we do here in this channel. That's what we try to do with WrestleRant. We try to be realistic, praise the positive, hone in on the negative, but be realistic at the same time. I'm a Punk fan, but I can also tell you when he should have won and when he should have lost. He should have lost last night. I'm not going to debate with you on that. But the fact that he's like CM Hogan and burying people is fucking stupid. And it's also not his fault. I mean, I think he is a proponent of building people up. I think in his eyes, probably Triple H's eyes as well, more likely, that Braun Breaker gained more in losing than he would have in winning. That I don't agree with. Braun Breaker should have won. They're probably going to have Braun Breaker win the Rumble and at WrestleMania. Great. But they should have done it last night. They should have done it back in fucking November when he turned on Rollins in October. But they wanted to wait. Not everything has to happen at the tentpole pay-per-views, like I said a few moments ago. The Jericho thing, I can't speak for everyone because there are a lot of dumb WWE fans. There are a lot of dumb AEW fans as well. There's just a lot of dumb wrestling fans that are very tribalistic and very stupid and very hypocritical. So I'm sure there are people who've just fucking hated Chris Jericho and now only like him because he's back in WWE. That is true. I don't think that's the majority, honestly. I really don't. I think there's a vocal minority that are just fucking stupid that people, for every fan base, like I think AEW is the same way. There's a lot of AEW fans that I think are reasonable. There's a lot, like exclusively AEW fans, a lot of exclusive WWE fans too. But it's the vocal minority on social media that overwhelm the people that are reasonable and make sense and have no issue with the other side. They may not watch the other company. They might prefer one company over the other. But they kind of get drowned out by the dumb people. With the Jericho thing, I think there's a lot of people, and I include myself in this category, that were sick of seeing Jericho in AEW because his run there the last 5 years was fucking terrible. And we can talk more about this on WrestleRant Radio this week. He's officially a free agent, reportedly. That's great. Jericho's last 5 years in that company, he did do some good stuff. Not all of it was awful. Like his first run as Ring of Honor World Champion, unnecessary, mind you. But it did produce some really good matches with him and Bandito, him and Daniel Bryan. He had a lot of really good matches during that period. But that was 1 3-month stretch out of 5 fucking years. The learning tree stuff was absolute garbage. And whether it's Jericho or Tony Khan, you can't convince me Jericho did not have his hand in that whole gimmick creatively, thinking it was great. It was awful. We have seen it play out. Like the whole idea was, oh, let it play out. Who the fuck did he put over? Hook? Is Hook any better off after beating Jericho a year and a half ago than he was beforehand? No. Is Bandito any better off? Yeah, he is better off, but not because of beating Jericho. He should have beat Jericho for the belt when he first had his shot at fucking, what was it? It was they did a match on Rampage or something, and Jericho won for some reason. Then they had to drag it out. Jericho put over a lot of people, but the Jericho Vortex thing is very real. I mean, he worked with a lot of fresh faces. That was nice. His groups got progressively worse. The Inner Circle started out great. Ended up just becoming fucking terrible. The Jericho Appreciation Society sucked. And what was the most recent group? The Learning Tree nonsense was the absolute worst. That was shockingly somehow even worse than the other two groups combined. Did not put over Big Bill or Brian Keith at all. They are well worse off than they were before. So it's not an anti-Jericho thing. Jericho has always been one of my favorite wrestlers. Jericho's first year and a half, I would say, in AEW was amazing. His work outside of WWE was amazing. This is the case with anyone, though. If you're anywhere for too long, and it's not even the case of being anywhere for too long, because like Kevin Owens has been in WWE for 10 years. I'm not sick of Kevin Owens. He has somehow managed to stay fresh and do a lot of great work. But I also feel like in WWE, a lot of these people, they can have creative freedom, but not as much freedom as they would have in AEW. Some people are great with that freedom. Some people are not. I think Jericho is one of those people. I think Jericho is a great mind for the business, but as far as his own characters are concerned, he did great work when he was a heel in 08. He did great work with the list in the mid-2010s. But like the bubbly stuff was great and some of the other characters in AEW. But later on with the learning tree shit, the appreciation society shit, fucking garbage. I'm just excited that he's out of AEW. And I feel like AEW fans should share that same excitement. I mean, why wouldn't AEW fans want to see him go back to WWE? He was the absolute, and you can't argue with me, he was the worst part of those shows for at least 3 to 4 years. Why wouldn't AEW fans not want him out of the company? It's a win for you, and it's a win for the WWE fans that we can get him back there for a little bit. I think that's where he should retire, to be honest with you. I don't know how long that run's going to be. If he was doing that learning tree shit in WWE, I would have said the exact same thing. It's fucking terrible. But you can also apply that same logic. Oh, they didn't care about him over there, but they care about him over here. You can apply that to Ricochet. No one gave a fuck about Ricochet in the last couple of years of his WWE career. I think he was having a lot of good matches, but he was booked like a fucking loser. He goes over to AEW. They give him a new lease on life, turn him heel. He's doing great work. It's the same thing. Some people just have to switch territories. And when they do, they're automatically just putting out better work. Sometimes it's just the scenery. Sometimes it's just the scenery and not necessarily where they are, or not necessarily what they're doing. They just have to go to a different company. Edge, you can make the same argument for. In WWE, not that people didn't care about Edge, that's ridiculous. But people were bored of Edge, and even the AEW fans now are kind of bored of Edge or Copeland or whatever the fuck. But I think they've largely booked him well. The stuff with Moxley wasn't really that good. But the tag team stuff has made sense. The TNT title stuff made sense. And I'm glad he went over to AEW in retrospect because he's had a lot of new feuds and new storylines and stuff that we weren't seeing with him in WWE, which I like. So, rant over, but just to kind of nip that in the bud that I don't think every fan is like, oh, I hate Jericho in AEW, but I love him in WWE. Some people are just better in certain places. But it doesn't help that he was in AEW for fucking 5 or 6 years. He was there for 6, 7 years, actually. He signed in early 2019. It was well time for him to move on. Nathaniel said he hopes Drew wins on Friday, but we'll see. Fernando said the wrestling community wants the future now, but not when it's too late. I agree with that. We need the wrestling, like we need the future now. You can't really, why wait with Braun Breaker? He is the now. He is not the future. He should be the now. That I agree with. Do I hope to see Brock Lesnar and Obafemi? I mean, I can live without it. I can live without another Brock Lesnar match for the rest of my life. But if we do get it, Obafemi should win. And I think that'd be a good match. If Brock is actually motivated, and I feel like that's extremely rare, but if he's motivated and they go in there and have a fucking, like a hard-hitting affair, I feel like that could be a banger with Obafemi winning. That would be great. But they would actually have to have an actual match and not just make it a... I mean, if Oba squashed Brock, that's fine too, but it can't be like what the Bobby and Brock matches were, which were like decent, but far from what they could have been. Probably because neither guy really wanted to lose and all this other nonsense and whatever. Fernando said the main event needs a serious shakeup. I agree. Brock Lesnar and Punk needs to step back to supporting roles in wrestling. Brock Lesnar, yes. Punk has more to offer than Brock Lesnar. Punk is a support. What the fuck is a supporting role? I mean, Punk lost a lot of matches last year, albeit a lot of them to Seth Rollins. It's not like he's exactly an up-and-comer. But Punk has been putting people over since he came back to wrestling in 2021. So, and I don't think Punk needs to be like the champion. He only won the belt 2 months ago. He had been back in the company for 2 fucking years. It's not like he was the champion prior to that point. It didn't really make sense for him to constantly be competing for it and then not win it at some point. Punk, I think at some point had to win the world championship. Does he need another 434-day run? No. Could he have lost it last night and would it have been fine? Yes. But, like, again, they can build up... Punk is already a supporting character on the show. But he's also one of their biggest attractions. Why the fuck would you reduce him to the mid-card when he's still one of your biggest stars? That just doesn't make sense. Got to be realistic here. But while he's a main eventer, he can also continue to put over people that are newer and younger and on the way up. WWE has to put him in situations to work with those people, like the Bronze and people of that ilk. And hopefully we get to see more of that. Johnny said Braun's going to win the world championship from CM Punk at SummerSlam. That's too late. Braun's got to win a world title before then. Which first Raw of the year was better, last year or this year? I might go this year. Quite honestly, I feel like it's comparable. That question came from Fernando. I feel like that the 2 Raws were comparable. Last year was also a good show, a lot of hype, even more hype than this show. And then a lot of people were disappointed. I did not hate that show as much as most people did. I thought it was a perfectly solid show last year. It was underwhelming that they didn't really kick off anything major, and it really did feel like they played it safe with that show. At least last night, we got 2 title changes. Last year was really all about like the cameos and the celebrities, and I don't really give a shit about that, to be honest with you. I feel like last night was more of a regular Raw than what we got last year, and I mean that in a positive way. Like with the focus on the matches and the storyline development, setting up shit for next week. So I would probably go better Raw this year. The Netflix premiere I thought was good. Like I said, I did not hate that show. We did actually have the Women's World Championship change hands on that show last year. So it's not like nothing changed hands. But I feel like there was more of a focus on the past with Taker being there and Rock and all the fucking celebrities. This year was more about the actual active roster, which is good. So I would probably go with this year's show, which I did not think was that bad, to be honest with you. Would we want to see Lyra get a big push this year, Nathaniel asked. Yes, Lyra is good enough to get a big push, for sure. Richie, what's going on, brother? He said, perhaps I'm in the minority, but I hope to not see Jericho back in WWE, even though we know it'll happen, and I was happy Punk retained. Breaker is not ready. Have him win Money in the Bank and cash in instead. I disagree. I think Breaker is ready. I will say this, the match was not pretty. There was a lot of fucking botches in that match last night. I still enjoyed the match. The suspenseful near falls, to me, made it entertaining. And it was a gritty match. I'm not going to say it was flawless because it wasn't. There were a lot of fucking botches. I still enjoyed the match overall. He also said, howdy y'all, howdy Graham, happy 2026. Thank you, Richie. I appreciate that. But I think Breaker is ready. I think on the mic he's ready. In the ring, this is what I was going to say. I feel like he goes too hard sometimes. Like that Frankensteiner botch, they got to be fucking careful. That is not the same thing as the Fletcher Moxley botch, by the way, from World's End. That was just intentionally stupid. I mean, that was just a fucking dumb. Like, they knew what they were doing when they did that move. The Breaker thing is just a botch. He still has to, like, when I say slow down, like, he doesn't have to slow down the spear specifically, but, like, he's like, bah, 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 bah. Like, you gotta calm the fuck down. Like, he's gonna get hurt one of these days. He hasn't yet, but he will if it continues to go, like, so headstrong with it and not, like, let shit breathe and, like, I know he's a ball of energy. That's great. But you got to calm the fuck down. Otherwise, you're going to get hurt. So that's my advice. Not that my advice holds any weight. But I'm just saying, like, that was my biggest criticism watching him last night, is that he just goes way too hard for his own good sometimes, and it comes at the expense of his matches. So he's got to be careful with that. That being said, hold on. That being said, Punk retaining, I had no, like, I was hoping he would win. I was hoping Breaker would win. I said this before. I wasn't happy Punk won. I just didn't have a major issue with it. I did think that Breaker winning would have made more sense. But, yeah, I would have definitely had Breaker win last night. Money in the Bank is too, excuse me, I think Breaker winning Money in the Bank is too far away. I feel like the Royal Rumble would make more sense. So, yeah, that's what I would do. I would have him win the Rumble at this point. I just feel like that might be too predictable. I don't know what they have planned for WrestleMania. With him being in a top spot or competing for a world championship, I'm just not sure. How would I feel if Jericho wins the Royal Rumble, Nathaniel asked? That's too late for that. What would be the point of that? I like Jericho being back. I don't have an issue with that, personally, like I said. But him winning the Rumble, I mean, what would that accomplish exactly? Jericho should have won the Rumble in 2012. Jericho winning the Rumble in 2026 is a significant step backward. Because what would the match at Mania even be? Him and Punk? Oh, God, no. Like, we've already seen that at WrestleMania, first of all. Him and Cody, we've already seen that, too, in AEW, actually. Jericho, like, he is a guy, specifically, in my opinion. We talk about Punk competing for world championships and people being bothered by that and complaining about it. Jericho is a guy that long-term, maybe for a one-off, but long-term should not be competing for world titles. He is at least close to a decade older than Punk. Jericho is fucking 55 years old. He's not as bad as Goldberg was, like him competing for a world championship at his age, but it's still pretty laughable. Jericho, his work in AEW, like there was nothing about that made me think that he belongs in a world championship picture in any company. That would be hypocritical for me to say. We talk about hypocrites among wrestling fans. That would be stupid for me to say, like, oh, he shouldn't go for the world title in AEW, but in WWE, I have no issue with that. No, he should not be competing for a world championship, at least at WrestleMania. For a one-off that he loses, cool. They should have put the belt on him a decade ago when he was doing the whole thing with Kevin Owens. They didn't. They missed their chance. In 2026, absolutely no fucking thanks. Nathaniel said, would I like to see Copeland and... Oh, he was asking Johnny, but he said, would we want to see Copeland and Christian win the tag titles in a ladder match? I guess, but I mean, Cope and Christian are just so much fucking older now. I don't know if that's going to end well. Christian's had ladder matches in AEW. I don't know if Cope has. I don't know. I don't know if that would be as good as people think it is. I mean, it's been 25 years since the last, like, their major TLC matches with the Dudleys and the Hardys. I guess the fucking Hardys are still going strong in ladder matches, and they don't really seem to give a shit, so whatever. I think just Cope specifically gets hurt a lot more than the Hardys do. So that's probably why I wouldn't do it. Imagine they win the tag titles in a ladder match and Cope just gets hurt. Like he had that steel cage match that he did that dumb spot in, and he got hurt for the rest of the year 2 years ago. So he's got to be careful. He's not hurt right now. He was filming. I don't think he's still filming. I think they're just waiting to bring him back, waiting until the right time to bring him back. Richie said, also absolutely hilarious that Netflix couldn't get anyone from the cast of Stranger Things to appear on Raw last night. So let me address that too real quick. Would it have been cool to get someone from the show in the crowd? Yes. But I tweeted this out last night. What incentive does the cast have to do anything else for Netflix promoting the show? The show is out. There's no reason to promote the show that's already been released. I know it's like a binge model, like, oh, go back and watch. Like, that's a Netflix issue. It's not a cast issue, first of all. I mean, I don't think that you're blaming the cast, Richie, but that was a big thing last night on Twitter. People complaining about, oh, they didn't get anyone from the cast in the crowd. Who cares? Like, I think it would have been cool to see Dustin or anyone else from the cast, but the show's already been fucking out. Like, they have nothing left to promote. I don't know if people know how this works. Why would they continue? Maybe they still are and they just didn't go to Raw. That would be one thing. Maybe they still are making appearances. I don't know. I see them doing interviews about the show, but that's different. They have a lot less to gain from appearing at fucking Raw than they do doing an interview with Vanity Fair, for example. Them not appearing on Raw, for a lot of people, made or broke the show for them. It's a make or break situation. That's kind of weird to me. Someone sitting there for 10 seconds is like a make or break situation. Just the thing is with Netflix, why would they tell these kids or anyone from the cast, hey, go waste a Monday night at Monday Night Raw? Unless they're a wrestling fan, why would they want to? There's nothing to promote. They made their fucking money. The finale aired a week ago. Most people have already seen it. I think the issue is more so with WWE doing this sort of show after the season finale, after the series wrapped up. Had they done this a month ago or the week before the finale, yeah, I mean, I think it would have been not worse. Again, someone sitting there for 10 seconds, really, who gives a shit? You know what I'm saying? Does anyone really care if Dustin was sitting there? If I was to have a character from the show, someone asked this in the scheduled questions, but I'll just say it now. Dustin would have been cool. I think he's my favorite character from the show. Any of the other actors being there, the guy that plays Hopper, I like that guy. I forgot his name. David Harbour, I think his name, right? That's the actor's name. That would have been cool. But they're not. They're not making the red carpet appearances. The show's over. It's done. There's nothing to promote. So why would they go there to promote a show that's already in the can? That's why I thought it was awesome. I thought the Stranger Things elements of the show last night, people would have complained about, oh, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. They had chapter titles, they had set pieces, they had Corey Graves dress up. They really honed in on the Stranger Things aspect of it. They played the music, they had the different graphics. They went all out with that shit. They took that Netflix budget and went all out with it. But people still find a way to complain. I'll talk more about it on Thursday, but not that you're saying, I'm not saying what you're saying, Richie, is a complaint, but the whole, like, oh, they weren't in the crowd, so therefore the show is ruined is just fucking stupid to me. It doesn't, I mean, yeah, I mean, is it, I mean, it's not even really funny to me. I honestly was not even expecting anyone to be there because they're not promoting a show that's like airing new episodes or a movie coming out next month. Why the fuck would they call any of those kids, Millie Bobby Brown or whoever? They're not even really kids anymore. And why would they call them to come promote something that's already out? Like, it's kind of a waste of their resources, too. I thought what they did was cool. I don't know. People will just find a reason to complain about just the dumbest shit. Because then we do get celebrity cameos in the first Raw of last year, and people didn't really care for that. Oh, I don't care about the celebrities. Give me the show. Give me Raw. You know what I mean? Give me wrestling. And then there's people that are watching Raw last night that don't give a fuck about the show at all. That don't give a fuck about Stranger Things. And then why the fuck would they care about these cast members being in the crowd? I don't know. A lot of complaints I saw last night about just dumb shit. Johnny said Tanahashi's last match was better than Cena's and Goldberg's last ones. I could believe that. I haven't seen it yet, but it was Tanahashi and Okada. That's not really much of a stretch. But yeah, I'll watch it. I have only seen, I think this sounds weird. I've only seen the first 3 hours of Wrestle Kingdom. Like, oh, that's such a little bit. I've seen most of the show. I paused it at Takeshita's match. So I haven't seen that yet. I will have a full written review up at some point. I'm still backed up on that front. There's a lot of shit I still have to get to. It's been a very busy last few weeks due to the holidays. But anyway, yeah, I'll watch the match and give my thoughts on it at some point. Becky versus AJ for the IC title at no. Becky and AJ at Mania, first of all, it's way too far away. They should have done it by now anyway, but whatever. I also don't think that match needed the IC championship, but that's probably what they're going to do. Nathaniel said, also, what happened to Natalya training Maxine, and then Maxine didn't need her anymore, and we haven't seen Natalya in weeks. I mean, she never even appeared on the show, but like in those vignettes, they teased Natalya, and they never really went back to it. Okay, whatever. Nathaniel said, would you guys want Stranger Things Season 6? No. What would the point of that be? I've seen the whole Conformity Gate thing. I have heard about that. My brother turned me on to that. That sounds fucking stupid. People are just coping. What could they do that was even better than what they did? People hated that. Again, another thing, people just complain about the dumbest shit. Who cares about what happened to Robin's girlfriend? Is that really that big of a plot hole? I mean, they really shouldn't have given her as much exposure and as much screen time as they did in that 5th season. But the fact I don't know what happens to Robin's girlfriend really does not matter. It's not that big of a deal. No one really seems to give a shit that much. And if they did explain it, people wouldn't care. So I don't know. Anyway, you guys are talking about Stranger Things there in the comments. Richie said, Joyce, that doesn't work for me, brother Byers. Refusing to put over Vecna, brother got squashed. He might need to jump ship to Disney+. Yeah, people were not happy about Vecna not really getting a whole lot of offense in. He was a fucking lame villain. I thought Vecna was cool. I didn't really care too much that he didn't do much in the series finale. But yeah, Vecna, listen, he wanted some more power. He wanted some more stroke backstage, didn't get it. Millie Bobby Brown says, that doesn't work for me, sister. That's what she said to Vecna, and Vecna was like, all right, fuck it, I'm going to take my shit to Star Wars instead. Millennial Noob said, speaking of Stranger Things, the Stranger Things episode of Raw was kind of mid. No appearance from the cast and creators of the show. Again, who cares? Would you really have, oh my God, the show was amazing. They had fucking Steve Harrington in the crowd. Would you really have given a fuck? Like, would that have really made that much of a difference? Again, people complain about the dumbest shit. I don't really understand why that would have made that big of a difference. If you're saying the show itself was mid, I get that. It was not a great Raw. I thought it was fine. It was a perfectly average show. Should have been better, probably considering the hype around it and just the fact they built it up as this big deal. That I can understand. But people saying that the Stranger Things element of it was mid. Brother, again, they had the set all done up. They had the set extended to the commentary table. They had graphics. They had the music. They had the fucking chapters for different parts of the show. Is that the only thing that was missing? I guess. But again, someone sitting there for 5 seconds when they shine a camera on the cast does not make or break the show. And I guarantee you, if they were in a backstage segment on Raw, people would have shit on that too. I don't care about Stranger Things. Why would I care about this actor interacting with Rhea Ripley? Blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Who cares? The cast not being there First of all, makes sense for all the reasons I said earlier. And second of all, it's not that big of a fucking deal. If you want to call the rest of the show mid, I get it. But that element of it, that aspect of it that people are really angry about, need to go outside and touch some grass. Grunt, what's going on, brother? He said, happy 2026. Grunt, what's going on, my man? Millie Bobby Brown should have faced Becky Lynch last year. Yeah, nothing worked for them sisters, so that would have made sense. 1 like on the stream equals 1 less lip filler for Millie Bobby Brown. Did she get rid of the lip filler? So I don't really pay attention to that. Someone said, easy for me to say, someone said that she did. I saw the meme going around of her from the, last batch of episodes or whatever, with that dumb face that she was making. Her acting in that last batch of episodes sucked. I'm not an 11 fan at all. You can watch Breaking Bad back-to-back like you did with Stranger Things. No, it's not the same thing. I mean, I'll tell you right now. Hold on. Let's look this up. How long to watch all of Stranger Things? 40 plus hours. All right? I mean, and also, I think that's season 1 through 4 and not season 5. I think it's 40 plus hours. That took us a month to watch. How long to watch all of Breaking Bad? 62 hours. That is significantly more hours. I mean, if you could watch 40, I guess you could watch 62. I don't know. It's just, there's more episodes, though. Like, at least with Stranger Things, if I'm going to sit down to watch a 2.5-hour movie, that's basically what some of those episodes are. I don't know. I don't think it's the same thing. But at some point, maybe I'll binge those episodes. Probably by myself. Alexis said she had no interest. What if Cody turns heel because of The Rock? What, joining The Rock? What would the point of that be at this point? The Rock fucked him over a year ago, and now he's going to join him. That would be just stupid. I'm sorry. Does Rhea and Io hold the tag titles till Mania? I feel like they might. I don't know if they will, but they could. Oh, God. Nathaniel said, what if Jericho brings his learning tree theme to WWE? The theme itself is great. The character would just be fucking awful. If he was acting the same way in WWE as he was in AEW at the end there, it's automatically a loss. That would be just a fucking waste of time. If he was going to bring any of his own music, it would have to be Judas. I think he would probably use his WWE song because it's more iconic, but at some point if he used Judas, I think that'd be cool. I like the Learning Tree song, not the character. The song itself, I think, was good. I don't think he would use that in WWE. Noob said Jericho might get booed by the fans when he gets back to WWE. I don't think so. I feel like wrestling fans, they would, it's a return. He's back. I don't think he's going to get booed. Maybe down the road. Definitely not right away and not for a little while. Richie said Chris Jericho is washed. He is washed. I like Jericho, but he's washed. This return for him back in WWE probably should have happened the last time his contract came up in AEW 3 years ago. Even then, he was still kind of washed, but he's absolutely more. I mean, he's also 55, so I get it. Richie said, but the fans sing his song. Who cares? The song is trash too anyway. I mean, the fans singing his song, I don't really, it was cool back in 2020. I mean, at this point, I don't really care. Them singing it in WWE would be cool because we haven't seen that yet. I don't think this run for Jericho has to be another fucking 5 years long. It really could be a short thing. I don't know if we need him like full time. I don't know. It depends on what the work of what he's doing looks like. I say like he should be part time, and then people are like, well, he's not around enough for this to really matter, because people will just find a reason to complain about anything. I disagree about the song being trash, though. I think Judas is a great song. I'm actually a big fan of his music. I'm probably in the minority on that, but I think Fozzie's songs are largely great. I did say 6-7 by accident, Richard, yes. Grunt said AEW pay-per-view top 3, middle 3, bottom 3. Oh, God. For him, he said All In, Double or Nothing, and Revolution are his top 3. I mean, I thought he was asking me. I mean, I guess I could answer that, too, because he gave me his bottom 3. But top 3 was All In, Double or Nothing, and Revolution. Middle 3 was All Out, Wrestle Dream, and Full Gear. And bottom 3 for him was World's End, Forbidden Door, and Dynasty. I would probably agree with that. World's End did not strike me as a bottom 3 show. I can't put Revolution in top 3. I can't. The undercard was amazing, but that main event was just so fucking bad. I can't put Revolution in top 3. That would have to be middle 3. I would probably put All Out in top 3. I think I would agree with all of that. I would go All In, Double or Nothing, All Out, top 3. Middle 3 would be Revolution, Wrestle Dream, and Full Gear, which I was at. Great show. Bottom 3, definitely Dynasty. Forbidden Door was kind of a missable show. World's End, I guess. I'm trying to think. I thought World's End was a good show. I mean, I guess by AEW standards, it would be bottom 3. Were those the only 9 pay-per-views they did last year? Are you missing any? You mentioned Full Gear. You mentioned Wrestle Dream. All Out. All In. June was... Did they not do a pay-per-view in June? I guess not. Double or Nothing you mentioned. Dynasty. Revolution. Yeah, I guess that's it. I guess they only did have 9 pay-per-views last year. That's crazy. Yeah, no, I guess I would agree with that, except I would change Revolution and All Out. I enjoyed All Out more than Revolution was amazing for the most part up until that terrible main event. I just can't in good conscience put that in my top 3. Nathaniel said, I love the Cope and Christian feud in AEW. It was amazing, and I'm excited for his tag team stuff with Christian. Me too. They just started teaming, and then he just fucking disappeared, and he's been gone for 4 months. So they lost any momentum they had. They immediately lost it. But I am looking forward to the reunion when he comes back. The Big Boss Man was booked like a loser in WCW, was booked like a huge star in WWE, Fernando said. Richie said Lesnar should put over Oba and Gunther and then leave. As much as I don't want him around, that would be all I'd want from him. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I would like to also see him put over Fatu, but, I'm not going to get too greedy here and say that he'll lose to all 3. We'd be lucky if he even loses to one of them, let alone both. But, but listen, if anyone was to retire Brock, and I don't think that's going to happen, I think Brock will be back. If the paycheck is big enough, he will always be back. I don't think Brock will ever have a definitive last match. Anything that ends up being his last match will be like, oh, that was his last match. Like at WrestleMania 36, he said that was his last match. Not in the moment, but years later. That did not feel like his last match. SummerSlam 2023 against Cody did not feel like his last match. Both of them for that time period ended up being his final match for a few years. I think whenever he retires next will probably be a similar situation. But that being said, what I was going to say was that if Lesnar was going to have a last match this year at SummerSlam, Gunther would be great. Oba would be more ideal. I feel like Oba has more to gain from beating Lesnar and having that match than Gunther does. Gunther may have benefited more like 2 years ago, but at this point he's beaten Orton, Cena, won the world title twice. I mean, he's fine. It would be cool if he beat him, but I think Oba specifically would gain more and should be the one to beat Brock in his final match, quote unquote, at SummerSlam. Richie said, Graham is hot today. 2026 is off to a fiery start. Yeah, I guess so. Fernando said, supporting role like mid-card. Brother, again, CM Punk is one of the biggest stars in that company. World Championship is not a supporting role. It depends what your definition of supporting role is. CM Punk should absolutely not be in the fucking mid-card. Competing for what, the Intercontinental title? Come on, man. Fernando, you know better than that. CM Punk is one of their biggest attractions and has been since he came back. Why would you not maximize that? Until he gets more washed than he is, he can still go out there and have a great match. Last night was kind of a fucking mess. I enjoyed the match overall. We are approaching that point where Punk will be washed as much as Jericho is, and probably in the next few years. But he's not quite there yet, so why would you not make the most of that? If John Cena can be world champion for fucking 4 months this year, why can't CM Punk? Maybe not for 4 months, but why can't he be in the world title picture? And again, before he even won the world title, Fernando, you might be forgetting here, my man. He returned at Survivor Series 2003. He did not win the world title until November 2 years later. All he's been doing is being in an upper mid-card role, working with the fucking Vision in Drew McIntyre. And that stuff's been good to great. But at some point, I mean, also, I don't even know if he was going to fucking win the title. We don't even know. We don't even know if Breaker was going to, or if Punk was going to win the belt from Rollins. We have no idea what the original plan was. I had heard that Rollins was going to retain. Rollins was probably going to hold the belt till Mania, was my guess. We don't even know if Punk was going to win the championship. They only had to do that on a whim's notice because Rollins got hurt. Now, again, I've said this before. Would I have put the belt on Breakker after he turned on Rollins? Yes, 1,000% yes. But Punk being the champion is not that big of a deal. It's CM Punk. He hasn't had a world championship actual run in this company in over a fucking decade. Edge never got a world championship run during his most recent run in WWE. That's okay. If CM Punk did not win the world championship during this recent run, that would have been okay. But it's cool that he did. If Edge had won the world title during that recent run in WWE, that would have been cool if he did. But he didn't. Punk did. Punk's also a bigger attraction than Edge, but that's just my opinion, especially in 2025. Even 5 years ago, that would have been the case. Punk meant more to AEW. Punk currently means more to WWE than Edge did during that recent run that he had. But anyway, he'll be fine. The main event will be fine. They have a lot of fresh faces. It's not a Punk issue. I think you're really honing in on the whole Punk aspect of it, like he should be, like he's the problem. Cody's been in the same spot for fucking 2 years now. He is the guy. But you can also give the occasional Drew McIntyre, the occasional title run to Drew McIntyre. You can put the belts on a younger guy. And, I mean, again, you talk about fucking CM Punk being champion. Where was this outrage for Samoa Joe being a world champion? He was the transitional champ. He dropped the belt to MJF, but that's someone that's already held the belt before. Swerve already held the belt before. Adam Page already held the belt before. Jon Moxley already held the belt before. I don't see the same outrage in AEW's main event scene as I do in WWE's. WWE needs fresh faces at the top of the card. So does AEW. And I'm not sitting here trying to do the whole whataboutism. I guess it's kind of what I'm doing. I'm just saying it's not a CM Punk problem. It's a problem at the top of the company for both companies. More so WWE, because there's more unsatisfied. I guess the AEW fans don't give a fuck that we've gotten a lot of the same people in the title picture for the last 2 years. Okay, whatever. But in WWE, people do care. That's fine. They should be pushing more fresh faces. Braun Breaker should be a world champion this year. Undoubtedly. Jacob Fatu should be a world champion this year. I mean, you don't have to put the title on everyone, but like Jey Uso was not Braun Breaker, but he was a fresh face in the world title scene in the sense that he had never held the world title before. We got that for a little bit. It ended, and they moved on. I mean, he was in the world title picture for a while after that, a little bit longer than he needed to be, but that was perfectly okay. They need to start building up new people. Completely agree with that. And hopefully they will. Maxine should have had a few more weeks with the IC title. I mean, a few more weeks? What would that have fucking made a difference? Here's my thing with the Becky Maxine issue. All of this, I will talk more about it on Thursday. If they were going to do what they did last night, and the match was whatever, the match wasn't that good, Maxine is only so good. She's being made better by Becky. Maxine is improved. She's actually improved during the feud. She absolutely has, especially on the mic. I did not like what they did last night. They should have either had Becky retain the title to begin with. They gave Maxine a moment. But that's all this company is a lot of the times these days, is a fucking moment. Maxine's actual reign was a complete waste of time. You either keep the belt on her for a few months. I guess they kept the belt on her for 6 weeks. Okay, whatever. I would have, and there's nothing wrong with short title reigns. Everything depends on the circumstance. Jey Uso holding the IC title for 6 weeks, the world title for 6 weeks. I had no issue with that because in both situations it made sense. And in both situations, he lost the belt back to the people who beat him for the belt, or that he beat for the belt in the first place. Maxine did the same thing, but here's my problem with it. Becky does not need the IC championship. She made that title relevant. But Becky right now does not need that belt specifically because she is headed into a feud, more likely than not, with AJ Lee. That match does not need the belt. If that's the Mania match, which, why did we start the storyline in fucking September if they're going to work a match in April? I don't like that. I think that's lazy. And it's also just fucking boring because it's led to a lot of weeks where it's like, where's AJ Lee? It's not like she was written off the show. But anyway, that match doesn't need the belt. Maxine Dupree needs the belt more than Becky does. Now, the belt doesn't make the person makes the belt. I get it. But there was more you could have done with Maxine as champion. Maxine could have, she beat Ivy Nile to retain it. Okay, cool. That I thought was a fine first title defense. She could have also worked with Natalya. You could have built a whole story around those two. Natalya getting jealous of Maxine and training her, and Maxine's the champion, but she's not. As Natty, I mean, I know I've talked for, millenniums. I've spoken, maybe not millenniums, but I've spoken for a very long time about how little I care about Natalya. But the Natty thing is fresh. We haven't gotten Natty on WWE television before. That would have been something different. You could still do that feud without the belt. It would be more interesting with the belt than AJ and Becky with the belt, which does not need it, okay? And then she could have dropped it to Roxanne Perez. And Roxanne could still be champion at some point this year. I'm sure she will be. Either the women's world champion, probably the women's IC champion, if I had to take a guess, or the U.S. champion on SmackDown if she switches brands. But that, to me, was the way to go. Becky being champion again, who does she even work with aside from AJ Lee? I guarantee you she probably will not even really defend it until she gets to Mania. The Maxine stuff, they've been feuding for like 3 months. Like, they got to move on. The feud has lasted way too long. I don't want to see another match. They've already had fucking 5 matches. Move on from that shit. I just wouldn't have put the belt on Maxine to begin with, or I wouldn't have put it back on Becky. The way that they did it, I'm not a fan of, personally. If Maxine had a short run and lost it to a Roxanne, that would have been fine to me. But she lost it right back to the same woman who beat her for it, that she beat for it in the first place. I don't like that. Grunt said, I agree. They got to chill with the future star shit and start treating them like stars now. How many times did we see here AJ Styles and Samoa Joe being referred to as the future in TNA? Too many. No, I agree. Breaker is not he is the future, but he's also the now. CM Punk, I like Punk, but Punk is not the now. Punk has been the now for like 20 years. Their time should be now. But anyway, I agree. I do agree they got to stop with the future. Javon Evans is 20-something years old. Very, very, very young. Should he be a world champion this year? In NXT? Maybe. Yeah, definitely. On the main roster? No. But that doesn't mean that he should be another, like, I saw Mark Henry's comment, it's got to be another 15 years before he wins a world championship. That's fucking stupid. Every new champ does not need to win Money in the Bank. I agree. I mean, Money in the Bank is, as far as who should win Money in the Bank, I mean, they had Rollins win it last year, which to me was a waste, but whatever. No, and every, like, new face doesn't need to win Money. I would rather have a new face win Money in the Bank than Rollins, but, again, just my opinion. Lesnar should not beat Gunther and Oba. That would be crazy. That would just be stupid. If that happened, that would be fucking dumb. My favorite Jericho gimmick, probably Heel 08 Jericho, because that was when I started watching wrestling. So probably Heel 08 Jericho, but the list is right below it, and his early AEW work is right below that. I didn't watch his WCW stuff as it was happening, so I can't say that one. Johnny said Jericho versus Cody in WWE would be different. If Jericho loses, he can't challenge for any belt in WWE. Sure, but that match should not happen at WrestleMania. If you want to do it at fucking Backlash, then cool. Also, they would not even acknowledge their history in AEW for anyone like wondering, oh, would they reference that? They wouldn't. Adam Copeland and Christian verse in a Viagra on a pole match. What would I would rather not think of that actually, Fernando, but thank you for pitching that. Speaking of David Harbour, I'm excited about Violent Night 2, as am I. The first movie was amazing. First of all, the Stranger Things theme, Raw, was a stupid idea anyway, just give me wrestling. Well, see, Fernando doesn't give a fuck about it to begin with. I don't really think I needed that show specifically. It was stupid. I mean, they did it because they're promoting, like, the show is on their programming. This is what was going to happen when you have Raw on Netflix. But Raw on Netflix has already been much better than Raw was on USA when it was a 3-hour show. It is shorter on Netflix. The show has been better on Netflix. They have put forward more of an effort on Netflix. It's not like the fucking greatest Raws of all time. But Raw was a much better show last year than it was even in 2024, 2023. My opinion. Overall. As far as pacing and shit like that. The commercials, people just got to get over. Their formatting has been the same for decades. I mean, they weren't putting commercials in the middle of matches in the Attitude Era because the matches were 3 minutes. I mean, how fucking stupid do people have to be? I'm not saying they should always put commercials during matches, but that happens in AEW. That's just how wrestling works because the matches are longer, and I think they should be. I don't know, man. It's just... I just see the dumbest comments about the dumbest things, and people lap it up. It's just complaining for the sake of complaining. Yeah, the Stranger Things theme didn't bother me, like I said, because I like the show. I don't love Stranger Things, but I like the show, and I thought the theming was sick. I thought it was awesome. Did it make the show amazing? No, but I thought for what it was cool. It didn't take away from the show at all. Anyone complaining that took away from the show also did not watch the show. Maxine going to face Natalya in a grudge match at Mania. That's not a Mania match. Have you heard about the secret episode of Stranger Things? Yes, it's not a thing people are coping. If it is, what would be the point of it? Again, they paid off everything or most things extremely well in that finale. How could they do it any better than they did? I know people were upset about the finale. Okay. A lot of the complaints I saw were just about dumb things. Like Dr. K not getting their comeuppance was dumb. I agree that was stupid. Overall, I thought it was satisfying enough. I mean, what would the secret episode even be? Vecna Death was so lame, he was made to look like Jinder. I wouldn't go that far. I would not go that far. They could have done more with Vecna, but people acting like he was a fucking buried character on the show. Again, with people, with comments I see like that, it's like it's the greatest thing ever or it's the worst thing ever. It's the age that we live in now, and it's just how the human mind works. It was either the greatest thing I've ever seen or absolute dog shit. There's no like it was decent or I liked it, but I had an issue with this, or I didn't like it, but I did like this. There's never any middle ground with these people. Fernando said, Millie Bobby Brown's a terrible actress. Have you seen the movie Danzel? I don't know what that is. It was trash, and she was also very annoying in the Godzilla movies. I forgot she was in the Godzilla movies. I don't know how great of an actress she is overall. I just saw her. I forgot about Godzilla. She was, I think, a kid in those movies. In Stranger Things, as an actress, she sucked. In Stranger Things, she was cringy as fuck. As a person, I've seen her do interviews and stuff. She seems likable enough, but her acting is indeed pretty subpar. What Marvel movie am I most excited to see? I mean, obviously Doomsday. For him, it's Spider-Man Brand New Day and then Doomsday. I would go Doomsday first and then New Day. Brand New Day sounds like just they're cramming as much shit into it as possible. I'm looking forward to the movie, but it sounds like it could be a fucking disjointed mess. Brock's last match. I mean, I guess you could say the same thing about Doomsday, but for Doomsday to me makes more sense. That's also like this big epic thing. Brand New Day is not. Johnny said Brock's last match would be a courtroom brawl. With Janelle Grant, probably, yeah. Nike fan 01, what's going on? He said, do you think WWE should take the women's world heavyweight title, the women's world title, you mean, off of Stephanie if she's injured? Put it on the line in the women's rumble of royalty. It comes down to Liv and Raquel goes over. What are your thoughts? Honestly, that's not a bad idea. It all comes down to whether Stephanie, how hurt she is. If she's only hurt for a few weeks, then no. If she's hurt for like 3 months, yes, you got to take the belt off of her. Obviously, you can't go into Mania season with a women's champion that's hurt and will not defend the belt of Mania. That would just be stupid. It's not like she has this record-setting run or anything. So I don't know how serious the injury is. I don't know if she actually is injured. I've heard literally nothing about that in the last day since Raw. Is she legit actually hurt? I've heard nothing. I just go off of what I saw on Raw. If she isn't actually hurt, then no. If she is actually hurt and she's gone for a while, I don't mind that idea. That honestly would be pretty cool. And the Rumble's in a couple weeks. It's not like they got hurt. Like someone said for the World Heavyweight title with Rollins, oh, put the belt on the line in the Rumble. Bro, that was fucking 4 months away. That would be stupid. People pitched that at the time like, oh, you could put the world title on the line in the Rumble. They're not going 3 or 4 months without a world champion. That would just be ridiculous. I know they've done it before. That does not work in 2026. I'm sorry. But Stephanie, with her case, it's January 6th. The Rumble's at the end of the month. If they were to do that, I think that would work. Raquel winning it, the only thing about that I don't like is that Raquel would probably then have to go into Mania as champion. What's the match in Mania? Liv and Raquel? That's not a Mania match. I'm sorry, it's not. So I'm all for pushing Raquel. I like Raquel, but I don't think Raquel goes into Mania as the women's world champion. I thought we were going to get Stephanie and Rhea. We still might. I probably would not put the belt on Raquel. I think Liv would make more sense. I know Liv has already held the belt before, but Liv I could see going into Mania as champion again. Liv is champion against Raquel. I don't know. But Liv and Raquel on paper still doesn't feel like a Mania match to me. If Raquel was like so over, you might have to acknowledge that and then like, change plans. But she's like not that over to the point where I would do that. Anyway, Grunt said, not going to lie, my placement of World's End is 100% due to my saltiness, he said, from not getting Fletcher and Takeshita in the finals. That, and I also felt Takeshita Okada did not live up to the 15-month hype. It felt like, I thought it was a great match. I felt like they were holding back on purpose because they still have other matches to come between them. Not defending it, I'm just saying that's why I expected it to be tamer. I don't know if I was expecting that, but I understood why it was tame in retrospect. You mentioned those things. What bothered me about the Continental Classic was that it ended with a match that wasn't amazing between Moxley and Okada when they had far better matches during the actual tournament. And then Moxley won. Didn't like that. I thought that was a terrible outcome. So that bothered me about the show itself as well. Richie said, having Punk take a backseat is almost reminiscent of WWE treating Edge when he came back, not featuring a top name as much as they should to maximize viewership. I disagree. Edge was featured a lot. I don't know. I don't think those things are... I mean, Edge and Punk are of equal star power. First of all, I think Punk's a bigger star than Edge. But second of all, with Edge, he was a pretty big star when he came back. Like, that Rumble return was great. The Orton feud was one of the biggest things on Raw during... I mean, COVID happened. But that was a big thing on Raw going into Mania. The Mania match wasn't good. I don't know what else you would have done with Edge that was all that different. I mean, Edge was in the world title picture for the first 6 or 7 months, 6, 7, of 2021. He won the fucking Rumble in 2021. He was gone for the latter half of 2020. So I disagree with that, actually. Edge got more of an aggressive push from out of the gate than Edge did, or than Punk did. Punk got hurt too, but Punk wasn't going to win the Rumble. Like, we found that out. Cody was always supposed to win the Rumble. Punk was never going to win the Rumble. If Punk won the Rumble and faced Rollins, I mean, I guess Punk was going to challenge for the World Championship at Mania. But to me, that made more sense. And Edge, with Edge in 2020, should Edge have immediately gone for a world title? No. I mean, Brock was the world champion. They did Drew and Brock at Mania. Fans or no fans, that was the right match to do. SmackDown could have fucking used Edge. SmackDown in 2020 sucked. But the Edge and Orton stuff made sense. He got hurt, and then he went to SmackDown in 2021. He did great work there. He had a great 2021. He had that great feud with Rollins. So I think overall they booked Edge pretty well. In 2023, if you want to say they didn't really maximize Edge and he was kind of doing a whole lot of nothing, that I agree with. In 2020, 2021, though, I would disagree. I would argue Edge was a pretty featured player on that show, especially in 2021. Nike fan said, am I the only one who isn't a fan of the Usos being tag team champions? I doubt you're probably not the only one, but I have no issue with them being tag team champions because it gets Jey Uso out of the singles ranks for right now, and I think they're a great team, and it's something we have not seen in a few years, so I have no issue with it. Grunt said they barely got in a second gear before Okada pulled out the screwdriver. Really hope Tony Khan will not make us wait until All In for the rematch. I hope so as well. I would wait until Revolution. All In is just too far. They've already waited this long enough as it is to do Okada Takeshita. You do not need to wait. You could do another match between them at All In. I would not do the rematch there. That's in like fucking July. That would be ridiculous. Do I think they could? Yeah, they could. I would not do that. Richie said, Punk has taken more losses than wins. As Graham mentioned earlier, revisionist history is crazy the moment someone picks up a single win. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Punk has lost a lot of fucking matches. He lost his first singles match back at SummerSlam in 2024. He lost to Drew at SummerSlam. He lost the Royal Rumble. He got hurt. I mean, again, it's not like they immediately thrust him into this world title picture and he won the belt early on in 2024. He didn't. And he didn't until November of last year. Emmanuel, what's going on, brother? Thanks for joining. Nike fan said, I think Jericho was coming back last night? No, I still think he's coming back to the Rumble. Did I think there was a chance? Yeah, there was a pretty significant chance Jericho might be there. Am I disappointed that he wasn't? No. I honestly, selfishly, was also hoping he wouldn't show up because I got an invite to go to Raw last night, and I've been to so many events in the last number of months. I'm just fucking exhausted, and I really did not want to travel to Brooklyn. It's a bitch to get there. So selfishly, I was hoping he would not be there because I made the right choice in not going. I am satisfied. I am satisfied in retrospect. I did not go to that show. It was a good Raw. I thought it was a fine Raw. I said that earlier. But it wasn't the type of show that I was regretting not going to. Especially, that Jericho return to be there for a moment like that would have been sick. So I'm glad I was not there for that. That I was not there for the Raw because he didn't end up coming back on the show last night anyway. Richie said, it can be argued that Punk is bigger than Edge, absolutely, but it still does not make sense to not use someone who is some sort of star power. Let younger guys get the rub by interacting with them. No, I agree. I'm just saying with Edge, I would I agree with your argument, but only in the latter half of Edge's run. That's it. I think they were not maximizing Edge. When the Judgment Day disbanded, when they broke up the Judgment Day and he was kicked out of the group, that was when they were not maximizing him. The Judgment Day feud went on for way too fucking long. And then after it ended, Jericho, or Edge rather, was under a contract with them for like another 6 months. And they did nothing with him. Nothing. Like, he popped up for the occasional match on Raw and SmackDown and shit. He did fucking nothing. I mean, that was a waste of Edge. I agree with that. I feel like they pushed Edge extremely well. From 2020 to the end of the Judgment Day, he was pushed extremely well. I mean, he won a lot of matches. He won way more than Punk did. And he worked with a lot of fresh faces and the bigger names. Edge was booked extremely well, even up until the end. But I still think they should have done more with him. I think Punk's run overall has been better booked as far as what he's been involved in because he's constantly on the show. They've also allowed Punk to wrestle more matches on TV than Edge. I guess they saw... The weird thing is that Punk's a bigger star than Edge overall, I would argue. And just in general, in the last 10 years, Punk's comeback meant more to WWE and AEW. But with Edge, they saw him as a bigger attraction because they were very hesitant to have him wrestle on TV. That was a big reason why he left for AEW, because he wanted to do more matches. And they would only have him wrestle like a few times out of the year, but Punk has been on Raw like almost every other week. He's on Raw most weeks, but he also wrestles almost every other week. So, I don't know. It's interesting. They didn't see the Edge in that same way. Maybe Punk was like, listen, you're going to make me fucking wrestle on Raw, and I'm going to... otherwise, I'm not doing this. I don't know. And you would think it'd be the opposite. With Punk saying, I want to work less, but they've actually had him work more, which I agree with. Nathaniel said, at least Edge won a title in AEW, and he will win the tag title, so at least he'll have something before he retires. I agree. It would have been nice if Edge won gold in WWE before he left there. He didn't, but it would have been nice. Grunt said, if Copeland Moxley was placed in the middle of the card in the Tony Mariah match main evented, Revolution would have been the show of the year, no question. Wouldn't even have to change anything about the match. Yeah, honestly, that would make a difference. If they did that same garbage with Copeland and Moxley almost at any other point during the show, then I would have thought better of the show. It was because it was the main event, and honestly, that is a lot of what that show will be remembered for, is that terrible fucking ending. And Tony and Mariah absolutely should have closed that show. And it would have been the one and only women's main event they've had in AEW pay-per-view to date. Emmanuel said, not sure how much you talked about it, but I imagine Punk is going to be World Heavyweight Champion until at least Mania. At this point, I am expecting that. I have not really talked about that, but I would have. I would take the belt off of Punk before then, personally. You got Rumble, you got Chamber in Chicago. I don't think Punk has to be champion until Mania. At this point, I'm probably expecting it to happen. How would I feel if AJ Lee won the IC Championship? I'm fine with that. She has to show up, though. I read the other day that she's actually not under a full-time deal, that she's actually under some sort of a part-time deal. That's fine, but you can't put your championship on a part-timer unless she loses it right afterward. Richie said, screw it. Pull a Mania 37 and do a triple threat for the women's IC title with Becky, AJ, and Maxine. No thanks. Maxine's done. Maxine had her time. We're moving on from fucking Maxine in the IC title picture. Grunt said, I personally want a moratorium. I never know how to pronounce that word. On title reigns longer than 200 days. I've seen enough year-long title reigns in my lifetime in just the last 6 years. I agree with that. I think most runs do not have to be a year long. And we've gotten a lot of title changes recently in both companies, which I like. Mercedes lost her title after over a year and a half. Okada's lost his belt after a year and a half. We're not getting as many long title runs as we used to, which is good. We gotta put a stop to those for right now. I agree. Have I seen the movie Final Destination Bloodlines? Nike fan asked. And what did I think about it? No, I have not seen it. I've seen Final Destination 1 and 2. 3, I think I just started it and never finished it because that roller coaster scene fucked me up. Did not see the new one. Have no interest. I don't like the deaths it's not realistic. They're not realistic, but like the log thing is realistic. The roller coaster thing is realistic. The fucking plane scene in the first movie is realistic. Come on. Emmanuel said, also, I was at World's End. Personally, I had a great time. Got mixed feelings about MJF as the new champion, but I think he'll be good enough as someone who can take new world title contenders. Yeah, no, I think MJF being champion, I mentioned earlier, like they're not putting the belt on newer people. I stand by that. But MJF, I would rather have champion right now than Samoa Joe, who I like. I think Samoa Joe's amazing. But MJF has not been champion in 2 years, and he's got a lot of potential challengers. So I like that. Storyline-wise, to me, it made sense. But they also have to start building up some new people. Richie said, Maxine can play the part of a person being overlooked by two bigger stars, making her a dark horse for being a potential winner. I still don't. Like, Maxine does not belong in the ring at this point with AJ and Becky. Maxine, her push was good, but Maxine is not that over to where it's not like she's fucking Daniel Bryan, okay? Like, if she was Daniel Bryan and people were so over, she was so over that you had to include her in the match, then sure, she's not. I feel like they told the story. It was good. I didn't really like the booking decisions made. It went on for way too long. Time to move on. Noob said the match between AJ Lee and Becky does not need the belt heading towards Mania. I agree, but it probably will be. Richie said the now NEW. Yeah, I know. Every time I say the now, that's the first thing I think of. Richie understands the reference. Most people would not. Speaking of, where the hell are they? I need some indie wrestling. Yeah, where the fuck is NEW, man? I have not gone to a show of theirs since last April. They've done some other shows in other parts of the country, but not here in the Northeast in a long time. I don't know what the fuck is going on with them. What did I think of Avatar Fire and Ash? I thought it was basically the same thing as The Way of Water. It was a good movie. They're just way too fucking long. Literally, and this is going to sound like stupid because everything comes back to wrestling, I look at the Avatar movies as an AEW pay-per-view. They're very good. I think they do a lot of things really well. They're just too fucking long, and that makes a difference. Anyone telling you that length does not matter with movies is lying to you. If a movie is 4 hours, it's still 4 hours. Like, that's not just, it's not computable for the human mind because we were only used to sitting down for 2.5, maybe 3. But these movies are over 3 hours. I was looking at my watch multiple times. They got to make the movie shorter. But the movie I thought was good. It was basically the same thing as the last one. Like I said, maybe even a little bit better. It was a little bit better. And it was cool to watch in the theater. Would I have watched it at home after the fact? Probably not. I went there for the Doomsday trailer. I think it was the Thor one, but I missed it because I got there late. So I didn't end up seeing that anyway. I saw it online later, though. Johnny said, Stranger Things, The Solo Adventures. 4-hour movie, just Millie Bobby Brown. Absolutely not. That sounds terrible. Fernando said, both Doomsday and Brand New Day are overstacked with characters. Yeah, but at least Doomsday is a fucking Avengers. I mean, Brand New Day is not an Avengers movie. It's just a shit ton of Star Wars, a shit ton of Spider-Man characters in one movie. It's not the same thing. Stephanie should hold the title till Mania. I agree, Fernando, but that's assuming she's not hurt, so we don't know. Nathaniel said he was asking Fernando a question. Grunt said, can't confirm, having watched Wrestle Kingdom 20, that Tanahashi did in fact get a beautiful send-off fitting of the Forever Ace. I did hear that. I will watch it later or tomorrow. I got to finish the show and write up my review, but I have heard that, so I have no doubt that it was a great match and a great send-off for Tanahashi. Shame that Shinsuke could not be there, though, or WWE ensured that he could not be there, which is just fucking dumb. Fernando said, do you think Maxine will disappear now? Yes, I do. I don't think she gets featured much on the show at all after last night. Emmanuel said, I know a lot of people mixed on Mox as Continental Champion, or the Continental Classic winner, but being there in the moment, the crowd loved the story, and he had a good winning speech. He did. It was a fine moment. I would not have had Moxley and Okada's like almost 2-year run, and the match was good. That it was very good, not as good as the other matches on the show, but it was still very good. And the speech was great. My issue is, are the Death Riders baby faces? Are they heels? It's very fucking confusing. Noob asked or said, I like that Rhea and Io won the tag titles, but the title change comes at the expense of the story between Asuka and Io. Hopefully that will still be on the sooner side. I still think we are getting Io and Asuka at some point. I do. The fact that we never got that match during like any of the build-up on Raw tells me they are saving it for another point during the storyline. Maybe at Mania, that would be great. I don't know if they wait that long. I don't know if that's even the focus or what happens with the tag titles, but that's how I see it playing out. Nathaniel said, Edge versus Seth is my favorite rivalry he had in 2021. In 2023, I was tired of his feud with the Judgment Day. I agree with both. Edge and Seth was amazing. Edge and the Judgment Day, by the end, I was just ready for it to be over. And that closing cell match with Balor was not great. It was kind of honestly disappointing. The Usos and Lucha Bros at Mania, yes, I like that idea, Fernando, for the tag titles. Yes, please. Emmanuel said, do I think the Usos will be tag champs for long? I noticed they were just using Jay's singles theme for them right now. Yeah, that's all weird to me. They were using the Usos theme song for a while. They honestly probably realized the Jay's singles theme is more over. So I think that's why they're doing it. They probably realized, okay, Jay's song on his own is more over. Let's use it for them both, even though it only makes sense for Jay on his own. But anyway, Fernando just said it. The Usos versus Lucha Bros in Mania. I do think the Usos will be champions going into Mania. Please do not have them drop the belts before then and have them have a WrestleMania rematch against each other. No fucking thanks. Zero faith, zero interest in that match whatsoever. Fernando said Punk should be a ring announcer by this time next year. LOL. If you were booking Fernando, he probably would be. You also said Punk should face Chase U for his retirement match. You will never hear from me again if that was the case. And also, what is even left of Chase U? Do they even have anyone left in the fucking group? Nathaniel said, what if they have Seth cost Braun Breaker against Punk at Mania? That would be fucking stupid. If Seth did not cost Punk last night, also, Braun would lose to Punk twice? That would be even worse. I said I didn't have a massive issue with Breaker losing last night. It would be 10 times worse if he went to Mania and lost to Punk again. Even if it was because of Rollins. That sounds like a Raw finish. That would be terrible. Not saying it won't happen, but it would be terrible. Emmanuel said, I think I posted a question about it once before, but WWE and AEW also seem very protective of Edge when it comes to wins and losses, probably more than Punk. They are. Edge has won way more matches, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Edge, he lost a fair amount in WWE, but Punk lost way more. I mean, Punk, like I said earlier, in 2025 alone, in 2024, he lost the Rumble, he lost at SummerSlam, he did beat Drew twice, and he won at Survivor Series. So he won 3 matches in 2024. In 2025, I remember he beat Sammy on Raw and he beat Rollins on Raw. But he lost the Rumble, he lost the Chamber, he lost the Mania, he lost at Saturday Night's Main Event, he lost the Triple Threat Money in the Bank qualifier on Raw, he won a gauntlet on Raw to become number 1 contender at SummerSlam, but he also lost the Cena Night of Champions, we can't forget about that. He lost at SummerSlam to Rollins when he cashed in. He lost the Clash in Paris. He lost 8 matches last year, and a lot of those matches were big matches. And he also had a lot of tag matches that he won and lost too, so on Raw. Can't forget about that. And Edge would not lose. I mean, Edge won at WrestleMania. He did lose a triple threat on SmackDown in 2023 during the World Heavyweight Championship tournament, but he beat Grayson Waller in Grayson Waller's debut. He beat Sheamus in his last match. He beat Damian Priest on Raw. He beat Balor at Mania. He lost to Balor at Extreme Rules, but he won at Clash of the Castle 2022 in the tag team match. I think he beat Dom by DQ on Raw. Like, Edge won a lot. He lost to Austin Theory on Raw, which was shocking. But he would win way more than he lost. He still did lose, but he won way more than he lost, which is fine. But you're right. I feel like both companies are more protective of Edge. And I don't think it's an ego Edge thing. I just think that's just how he's booked. Anyway, Nathaniel said, would I want to see Punk win the WWE title, the one that Cody has? If he lost last night, then yes. I would have been fine with Punk facing Cody at Mania because that's a Mania-worthy match. Fernando's not going to like that. But that would have been a Mania-worthy match. Now, could he lose the belt at the Rumble and then still win the Rumble in the same night or Chamber? Yes, but I'm getting the feeling now he's probably holding the World Heavyweight Championship until WrestleMania. Fernando said, Maxine and Otis should feud with Ethan Page and Chelsea for the intergender tag titles. They could. I mean, that's not really something I care to see on the main roster. Maybe in NXT. Or Maxine and R-Truth. What would the point of that be? I mean, Maxine and R-Truth have nothing to do with each other. Would I want to see Triple H and Becky versus Cena and Brie Bella? Absolutely not. I mean, what would even be the point of that? That sounds terrible. In 2025 or 2026, you're asking? Even worse. In general, the answer is still no. Most improved, Maxine or Harley? Good question. I would go Harley Cameron. Maxine has improved a lot. Harley, I think Maxine had a lower bar. Maxine was definitely worse than Harley, but Harley has more improved also as a character too. Maxine has as well. I would still go Harley though. I think Harley's more over, better in the ring than Maxine to this point. I don't think Harley is great at all, but I think she's much better than Maxine. So I'd probably go Harley Cameron. Better Pirates of the Caribbean villain, Captain Barbossa or Davy Jones? Honestly, that's tough. Barbossa's an OG. Davy Jones was awesome. I'm going to go Barbossa. I like the babyface turn with Barbossa too at the end of the second movie, one of my favorite movie endings in history. Grunt said, heard that WWE booked him, Nakamura, for a rando promo on SmackDown, and that's why he couldn't go. He can't leave that company soon enough. I think that might have just been speculation from Brian Alvarez. Now, am I doubting that's true? I'm not saying it's not true. It very well could be. I don't know if that's been confirmed, though. I saw Brian Alvarez say that. It sounded more like speculation to me. But WWE, the point is, they did not want Nakamura there. They did not approve for him to be there. He was not there. So whether they booked him for the segment on SmackDown for that purpose or not, they still did not want him to go to Wrestle Kingdom, and that sucks. I still think he's probably... what I tweeted is what I believe. Nakamura will probably be gone from the company this year, and I feel like they waited until after Wrestle Kingdom on purpose so he could not be there at Wrestle Kingdom. Genuinely, that's how I feel. Ahmed said, I prefer the Usos theme more. Interesting. I think the Usos theme is great. I think Jay's theme is better, but when they're teaming together, it has to be the Usos theme because that makes more sense. Breaker losing to Punk will be nightmare fuel at Mania? Yeah, it would be. Noob. Fernando said, how do you think Trick Williams will do on SmackDown? I think he'll do very well. Javon Evans on Raw, same thing. I think Trick's first feud on SmackDown being with Sami Zayn, I think is great. Great first feud for Trick and a great way to use Sami Zayn right now. Javon, I don't know what he does out of the gate, but I think him on Raw also makes a lot of sense. Emmanuel said, about Avatar, something I heard about movie run times is that a lot of films are 3 to 4 hours before editing, but directors like James Cameron have a lot of clout, or have the clout, to reject cutting/trimming stuff. I don't doubt that for a minute. He thinks he likes the smell of his own farts. That's how I look at it. I think he thinks that everything he does is amazing. They are good movies. They're not the fucking, greatest movies of all time. I have seen at least 100 better movies in the last 10 years than any of the Avatar films. Probably more than that. They're good. They're far from great. They do not need to be fucking 3 to 4 hours long. There also does not need to be 5 of them either. Nathaniel said, I think Edge lost the Theory on Raw. Yes, he did, for the U.S. Championship. Theory retained the title on Raw back in, I think it was February of 2023. Who will have more success right away, Javon or Trick? Probably Trick. I could see Trick winning the U.S. Championship from Carmelo at some point in the next few months. Javon is better out of the gate. I feel like he's going to be more over. I mean, Trick's already over too. I like to watch Javon work more, but I think Trick will have more success quicker than Javon. Javon, it will be a longer process, I feel. Grunt said, yes, that too. Last thing I wanted to watch at midnight was a slow, plodding match with leg work. Complete opposite of the kind of matches we were used to getting in the tournament. I agree with World's End he's talking about. Fernando said, I hated Javon signing with Raw during commercial. I feel like he's a bigger deal than that. Yeah, I don't know why they did that. I thought that was dumb. What they should have put, the Usos promo felt like something that you would see during a Netflix commercial. That's what's weird to me. That the Usos promo felt like one of those commercials or one of those promos that you would hear if you don't have ads, like the VPN version of Netflix that you watch. That's the type of promo that you would hear during commercial. Whereas the Javon thing was more important and should have happened during the actual show. I would have switched those two promos. Grunt said, all I needed was like 5 more minutes. Couldn't have Takeshita at least kicked out of one of the Rainmakers before Okada resorted to the screwdriver. I agree. Usually I need less time for the AEW matches, but that is one match where I would have wanted more near falls and more to it than what we got. I agree. Noob said Nakamura has a new interesting segment with Tama Tonga on Friday. It's like they've had history in New Japan. Yeah, no, they acknowledged they had history in New Japan, which I thought was cool. They didn't mention New Japan, but they mentioned they have history. Do I really care about a Nakamura-Tama Tonga match? Not really. I feel like it's only really leading to Tama Tonga beating Nakamura and then building up Tama for a U.S. title match. That's probably where it's going. But it was interesting. Was it necessary? No. but it was interesting, I guess. What's the next movie I'm planning on watching? I actually just watched, what's it called? One Battle After Another. I had that recommended to me. Did not love it. I thought it was a very good movie. Did not think it was like the greatest movie of the year by any stretch. Was not a fan of the style of the movie. Maybe it's definitely my personal opinion. I'm definitely the minority on that. Didn't love the movie. I thought it was very good, though, to great. Did not think it was amazing. Next movie I'm planning on watching, I don't know. In theaters, I definitely don't know. There's really nothing coming out in the foreseeable future. I still want to see Zootopia, too. Ahmed said, I can see Trick feuding with Mello at Mania for the U.S. title. I believe he's our next U.S. champion. I completely agree. That's what I just said. Grunt said, Takeshita, Okada, Fletcher at All In would be sick, though, and just keep them busy with single matches in the meantime. I'd be fine with that. I mean, honestly, that sounds more like a world title match than a international title match. But Takeshita has to beat Okada. That should be the end game. Ahmed said, I did not enjoy Raw. Every time they hype up a show for a couple of weeks, they underdeliver. I mean, you were not the only one that felt that way. I mean, you said you didn't enjoy the show. That's fine. I mean, I think a lot of people did not enjoy it. I thought the show was fine. I enjoyed it, but I enjoy most shows. I enjoy most Dynamites. I enjoy most Raws. But I can also tell you when they're a great show or a bad show, I thought the show last night was solid. It was not bad. It was not atrocious. People are overreacting because they like to complain. I also did not think it was an amazing show, but I didn't really see a lot of people saying that either. Yeah, I mean, honestly, people should know better at this point. When they hype up a show to be as big as it is it ever as epic as they advertise it as? Really? Not really, no. With WWE specifically, and sometimes with AEW, but a lot of the times with WWE, the shows are never as good as you have it in your mind to be. That was the case with, many Manias and last year's Raw Netflix premiere and last night's show. I mean, honestly, it's kind of amazing to me people even still get excited for this shit, knowing that it could underdeliver. And it's not even like they hyped up the show to be like the greatest of all time. They just hyped it up with a couple title matches, and people thought it would be bigger than it was, expecting like all these different returns and debuts, which I think SmackDown was a better show on Friday than Raw was this week. It's interesting to me. Richie said, my biggest gripe with Javon signing with Raw, as has happened with other NXT stars, is why not have him have a run with one of your titles on that brand so we can get some reps in? You talking about with NXT? Like an NXT title run? He might still be an NXT champion at some point. I agree with that if that's what you mean. He might still be NXT champion eventually. I would not be surprised if they belted him at like Stand and Deliver. Do I want to see FTR versus the Young Bucks before they lose the titles to Cope and Christian? No. We've seen enough FTR Young Bucks matches. Why the fuck would you want to run that back? That's just not necessary. Again, anytime soon, I don't really think is necessary. Fernando said, was it a mistake for Javon to never beat Obafemi for the NXT title before moving to Raw? Yes, they should have done that. Richie said, sure, he might appeal to a younger audience, but to me at least, legitimately, it makes no sense to fast track them and then he better not get lost in the shuffle if this is the case. I agree. I think Javon is main roster ready, but if they don't have a plan for him, do not put him on the main roster. It's as simple as that. I also don't really understand why calling them up now makes sense, because I feel like when you call people up before Mania, this has happened in recent years, they just get lost in the shuffle. So Trick was necessary. Oba and Javon, they really could have waited a little bit longer. I don't know why they're doing it now. I'm not going to complain. I like the new blood on Raw and SmackDown, but the timing is weird unless there's a plan. Trick, they have a plan for. Javon, I'm not as optimistic. Richie said, all right, I answered that question. Do I see Sami Zayn winning the Rumble? He should. Do I see it happening? No. Honestly, if Drew wins the title on Friday, which I don't think he will, spoiler alert, I'll answer that question in a moment. I got to get going soon, so I got to answer the scheduled questions and get out of here. If Drew wins the title this week, then yes, I actually do think Sami Zayn might win the Rumble. But after Braun Breaker lost last night, my answer is no. I think it's going to be Breaker. I would prefer Sami, though. Richie said, also, Javon is not the best promo-wise. He could have stayed in NXT a little bit longer to cut his teeth more. How he gets promoted faster than a Trick Williams or Ricky Saints is silly. I mean, Trick Williams is already on the main. I mean, he didn't get promoted. Oh, yeah, I mean, okay, I see what you're saying. Trick Williams was in NXT for 4 years. Javon was there for 2 years. I agree with that. It's more about supply and demand. I mean, Raw and SmackDown need the new blood. So they didn't need Trick, when they could have called up Trick a year ago, first of all. Second of all, with Trick, they didn't have a plan for him, or there were other people that could have got called up before him. Ethan Page you didn't mention. Ethan Page is more main roster ready than Javon, but there's no, like, Ethan Page you would need a certain role for on the show. Javon can go in there and have great matches, and he can get away with not doing much right now because he can go in there and have great matches and connect with the crowds that way. So it's all different. Javon could have spent more time in NXT and gotten better on the mic. I agree with that. He has improved. He's still not great on the mic. It all depends on what happens from here. Nathaniel said, hey, Grim, who would you want to see be the big lead in Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars? I could see Tom Holland have a lead role in Secret Wars. Yeah, not in Doomsday. In Secret Wars, probably. In Doomsday, I think Captain America's probably going to die right away, which is why they did not advertise him on the chairs last year. It might be Thor. I feel like that's not interesting enough. Maybe, Mr. Fantastic, Pedro, what the fuck's his name? I don't remember. I feel like it could be him. I don't know. There really weren't any, like, major actors like for Doomsday. Like, Loki would be cool. I don't see that. Spider-Man in Secret Wars, yes. But in Doomsday, is it really like the X-Men is the lead? I feel like it might be Thor. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Fernando said, I loved one battle after another. Leonardo DiCaprio's performance was very big. Lebowski, Sean Penn deserves an Oscar for playing General Lockjaw. I thought the acting was amazing. I did not love the writing and certain style choices. I thought there were some shots that were great. The story, I think, could have been a little bit better. I thought the acting was great, though. Leo, for as weird of a dude as he is an amazing actor. I thought he was fantastic. Ahmed said, I really liked SmackDown the first of 2026. I thought they did a really good job. I agree. I thought it was a very good show. I don't have hopes they'll be able to do that every week at 3 hours long, but I thought for the first show of the year it was good. Fernando said, and Jungle Bleep was my favorite character in one battle after another. Oh, yes. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. No, she was good too. Fernando said, where would you like Obafemi to go? Probably SmackDown, because they already have history there with him and Cody and Drew. But if Joe Hendry is going to SmackDown getting Trick, Oba, and Joe, and then Raw only getting Javon isn't really even, and Jordan Grace on SmackDown. I feel like Oba would have to go to Raw, but it depends on what they have planned for him. Nathaniel said, do I think SmackDown is still a bad show? It was one show last week that was good, so I need more than that to convince me SmackDown will be sufferable at 3 hours long. Should Blake Monroe win back the women's North American title? I would say yes, but if they're calling her up, which I saw the report yesterday from Fightful that they are planning on probably calling her up soon, then no. Keep it on Thea Hale. Depends on what the plan is. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see. We'll find out tonight. She's getting a rematch tonight at New Year's Evil. Fernando said Javon's promos are getting enough, or going enough. He sounds like RVD on the mic. He's a legend. Or good enough, I think is what he means. Yeah, he's not a great talker, but he has improved. And honestly, it's really not going to be the promos that get him over anyway. He just sounds like a likable dude. His promos were a lot worse a year ago. And the year before that. They've improved enough to where I think he's fine on the main roster. But I do see what Richie's saying, though. Daniel, what's going on, brother? He said, He also said Javon got signed during a damn commercial. Please make it make sense. No, there's no way to make that make sense. It was dumb. Switch that in the Usos promo. That would have made sense. But yeah, Fernando said Pedro Pascal. No, I know the actor's name. I'm talking about what's his actual character name? Mr. Fantastic, but what the fuck is his name? I don't remember. Emmanuel said might have to leave soon, but do you think WWE will have Roman Reigns return to win the Rumble so he can main event WrestleMania again? It's very possible. I'm going with Breakker to win the Rumble, but I could absolutely see it being Roman Reigns. Nathaniel said, I heard people saying Toby and Hugh would have lead roles. That would be crazy. Hugh, they might. Tom will, I think. Toby, I don't think so. Hugh might. Do I hope Paige returns this year? I hope she does, and I think she will. People might not be happy to hear that. They don't like Paige. They didn't like her AEW run. That's fine. I like Saraya. I like Paige. Her work is not what it used to be. What it was in AEW was not what it was in WWE 10 years ago. But still, I like Saraya. Even if for a one-off, I would love to hear her in the Rumble. See her in the Rumble. Hear that music in the Rumble. But it's in Saudi Arabia, so, that would not be ideal to me to have her come out and return there. But at some point this year, for sure. Daniel said, Happy New Year, my brother. Thank you, Daniel. Happy New Year to you as well. Reed Richard, thank you, Fernando. I got to go quickly because I got to go in a couple minutes, so I still have to answer these scheduled questions. So apologize if I'm quick here. Fernando said, would Thea Hale beating Becky for the IC title been a bigger moment than instead of Maxine? Yes. Yeah, it would be, because Thea Hale is a rookie, is a much more of a rookie than fucking Maxine is, who's been in the main roster now for years. So yes, it would have been. Would I want a Paige and Nikki feud? Absolutely not. We saw that 10 years ago, 10 plus years ago. Why would I want that again? Paige, like Nikki, should be working with newer people or people that she's not worked with before. AJ one more time for like nostalgia's sake, but not for more than like one match. Grunt said, I'd honestly be down for a Paige Swerve tag title run. Question is, would they be the ones who beat Cope and Christian? If not, who should be? I could see it being the Bucks. I hope not, though. Yeah, I would be down for a Paige and Swerve tag title run, and I'd be fine with them beating Cope and Christian. So, yes. If not them, then who? I don't know. Not Brodito. FTR, I don't think should get the belts back from Cope and Christian. It would probably be the Bucks, but I hope not. So, yeah, Paige and Swerve would make sense. Not counting on it, but it would be cool. All right, so we'll go to the scheduled questions here before we head on out of here. Jordan B. asked, do you see John Cena joining the creative team for WWE one day? I don't. I don't even know if he would be great in that role, to be honest with you. He might, I mean, you can make the same argument for Triple H, but I don't know. Cena never really struck me as like the creative booking type of personality. He just does what he's told. So probably no. Do I think it'll even happen? No, I don't. He asked, besides John Morrison and John Cena, how would you rank the Miz's tag team title partners with the Big Show, Shane McMahon, R-Truth, and Damian Mizdow? Good question. Aside from Cena and Morrison, I would go R-Truth number 1. I loved Awesome Truth, specifically back in 2011. I would go Mizdow 2 because they were entertaining. I would go probably Shane McMahon 3. They were a surprisingly fun team for as long as that lasted. And Big Show 4. I like Show Miz, but that was like such an afterthought. I don't really remember how well they worked together anyway. Nike Fan 01, who was here in the chat earlier, said, what are your 3 bold predictions for WWE and AEW in 2026? I answered this already on WrestleRant Radio last week, and the clip is up on the channel, so I won't really answer that here. But I will say for bold predictions, I don't know how bold it is, but Kyle Fletcher wins a world championship this year, and Austin Theory wins the world championship this year. Am I confident in either one of those things? Absolutely not, especially with Theory. But you want to go bold? I would say that's pretty fucking bold. The other predictions I made weren't really all that bold, but I'm not good at making predictions for that sort of stuff anyway. That far down the line. But he also asked, what match types would you have booked in the 3 stages match between Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre? And who would you have gone over? Good question. For the stages, I know we're getting like a regular match, a Falls Count Anywhere, and a Steel Cage. Kind of lame, but what else do you expect? I would go Falls Count Anywhere first. Special guest referee would make sense because Drew thinks the referees are incompetent or they're screwing him. But who would even the referee be? You know, so that would make sense, but I don't know if that's all that interesting. But I would go Falls Count Anywhere first, Steel Cage second, and for the third fall, ideally First Blood. But I know we're not getting a First Blood match with those two because they haven't done one in almost 20 years since they went PG. Last Man Standing would work. I feel like we got one a few months ago between Priest and Black. So to do another one, and we got Tiffany and Nia in a Last Woman Standing match a few months earlier before that. They've already used the stipulation enough, but I would still take Last Man Standing over Steel Cage. Because Steel Cage, I feel like, is an abused stipulation. Predictions for the first and second entrants for both the men's and women's Royal Rumbles. For the men, I mean, this is random. I'm not good at predicting this stuff. For the men, I'll go AJ Styles and Ilya Dragunov. I feel like that'd be fucking awesome. Or Ilya and Gunther, actually. Fuck yeah. You know what? Fuck Styles. Gunther and Dragunov. Fuck yes. And then for the women's, not exactly bold, but Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. No L from Facebook. Do you see Roxanne Perez slowly gaining the trust of Liv Morgan inside the Judgment Day, only to then cost Liv either the Women's Championship or Money in the Bank this year? No. That would be way too long to tell that story. I think Liv goes babyface before then. I mean, by your story, I guess Roxanne would be a babyface instead of Liv. I think Liv goes babyface before Roxanne. And the Judgment Day breaks up anyway. So no, I don't see that happening. I don't even see Roxanne as the women's world champion this year. Money in the Bank, maybe. I still don't see it happening, though. Do I see Jade Cargill losing the SmackDown women's title? I think he means the WWE women's title. Sooner rather than later, because with all due respect, her title run is not working. I don't think the run is working because they're putting her up against jobbers and B-Fab and Meechin for the last 2 months. So that's why it's not working. It's not like Jade's not over. Jade's a star. So I think they start having her work with Alexa and Charlotte, and I think her reign will automatically improve. How much, I don't know, but I think it'll automatically be in a better spot. No, I don't see Jade losing the belt before Mania. At Mania, maybe. Not before then. I feel like that would just be too soon. At Iwagu91 from Twitter. The great Hiroshi Tanahashi retired this past Sunday, losing to longtime rival Okada in his retirement match. What are your thoughts? Heard it was great. Have not seen it myself yet. Still have to finish the show. I'll give my thoughts in a written review at some point, hopefully this week on WrestleRant.com. Still have a lot of reviews to catch up on, like I said. Been a busy last few weeks, but yeah, heard it went well, though. And it makes sense that he lost, so yeah, good shit. Good shit. Second question here. Mercedes Moné's TBS title reign began with her beating Willow Nightingale for it and ended with her losing it back to Willow. Did you notice that? Yeah, I think everyone noticed that. I don't really think that was much of a secret. I think they acknowledged that. I think everyone knew that. I was kind of hoping she would lose it back to Willow eventually. I just would not have done it when they did. When they did was fine. I just wouldn't have done it while Willow is tag team champion. But it was still a great moment and a very good match. Do I think that Kalani Jordan should win the NXT Women's Championship first before getting called up to the main roster, which will be very likely be SmackDown, considering, Carmelo Hayes is there. Lastly, Happy New Year. Thank you, Iwagu. Happy New Year as well. No, I don't think Kalani Jordan needs to win the NXT Women's Championship first. She could, and I'd be fine with that, but Sol Ruka didn't. She's probably headed to the main roster before she wins the NXT Women's title, so whatever. Jordan was already like the North American champion, the TNA Knockouts champion. She doesn't need to be the NXT Women's champion. She could be. I'd be fine with it. I don't see it happening. At millennial_noob, I also don't see her beating JC Jane. Noob's question, what are your thoughts on Rhea Ripley and Io Sky winning the women's tag team titles? Also, what's next for Asuka? She has no storyline. The feud of the Io Sky was supposed to get everyone involved, or get everyone interested, rather. And the heel turn was a total waste of time. It definitely wasn't a waste of time, because, they turned them heel, and they won the tag titles, and they did that so they could feud with Io and Asuka, or Io and Rhea, rather. I was hoping Kabuki Warriors would retain. I don't think Io and Rhea need to be tag team champions, but it was still a good moment. Very good match. They work great together, so it's a fine run. I'm okay with it. And I still do think we're getting Asuka and Io at some point. If we don't get that feud and they just move on from it, that's a fucking joke. That is a mistake. I think Asuka and Io at this point would be perfect for Mania, even though they've been feuding since the summer. But I could see them stretching it out the way that they do because that's what they want to do at Mania. Okay, whatever. But, yeah. No, I thought the match last night was good. I'm fine with the outcome, provided we still get Asuka and Io at some point, ideally at Mania, if not before then. And last question, at Pluggo_ from Twitter, which Stranger Things character did you hope to see on Monday Night Raw? Said this earlier, but Dustin, I feel like would have been... Dustin's my favorite character on the show. So seeing him there, Steve there would have been cool. I like Lucas. Any one of them being there would be cool. Or the guy that played Vecna, I think he's a great actor. So any of them being there would have been sick. Or Hopper. Or David Harbour. So obviously none of them showed up, but it also did not really affect my enjoyment of the show. I don't really think them not being there was that big of a deal. We'll wrap up here. Thank you guys for all the questions, and thank you for all the chats and whatnot. Hold on, let me see. What was the last comment here? Great question, but Cena and Rock need to stay away from creative, Fernando said. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, both of them. Please stay away from creative. Noob said Damian Sandow was entertaining in WWE years ago, and he's still entertaining in the NWA recently. Yeah, I like Sandow. Sandow's good. He's underrated. I always like Sandow. I feel like he got the short end of the stick in WWE. They didn't really do enough with him. But I was always a big Sandow fan, and he's still good in NWA. And Daniel said, was it me or did Punk and Braun have minimal chemistry? I thought they had good chemistry. I thought it was a sloppy match, but to me it was still entertaining with all the near falls, and it felt like a gritty match. So the botches didn't really bother me as much, but it was definitely a messy match. They may not have great chemistry. We'll see if they run it back and they have an equally, like, a match with not great botches, or with a lot of botches, not a great match. We'll see. I liked the match a lot last night. even though they were clearly not on the same page for some of those spots. If that's the case in the rematch, then it would be safe to say they have no chemistry. But I still thought it was a very good match overall, so I can't sit here and say they don't have great chemistry. Were they not on the same page? That's probably the case. Do they not have great chemistry? I don't know if I'd go that far, but we'll see in the inevitable rematch how well they work together then. And if there's as many botches in that match, and if the match is boring, that to me is like, okay, they don't have chemistry. Or the match just sucks. I didn't think the match sucked. So I'm not going to say they don't have chemistry. But all right, guys, that's going to do it as I head on out of here for episode 632 here today. Thank you again to the channel members Alexis, Miss Mod Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve 1, RJ Marceau, RJ_Marceau on X, Real Honesty with John Ritland on YouTube, Red Planet Wrestling on YouTube, that being Richie, and Average Grunt at gruntwrestling.bluesky.social on Blue Sky. More information on channel memberships down below. You can also like the video, drop a comment, share the video, subscribe, all that support, greatly appreciated. If you want to send in a question for next week's episode, tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/gram.gsm.matthews. Drop a comment on the post I usually put up on Monday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but not least, include your question down below in the comment section on this very video after we're done going live, and I will include your question in next week's edition. Daniel said, Penta teams with everyone in a mask except his own brother. I did notice that. That is pretty fucking funny. But I love the idea of Penta, Dragon Lee, and Ray aligning. I love that trio. Ray Phoenix is like the Squidward meme watching from the inside as they're on the outside having fun. That's basically Ray Phoenix right now. Although he's in SmackDown, he's on SmackDown and not even in AEW. But hopefully soon he'll join that alliance. Nonetheless, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I mentioned this earlier, Thursday, new WrestleRant Radio. Join us then. Thank you, Fernando. Said, excellent stream as usual. Thank you. We'll see you Thursday for that. But I will be live again tomorrow, if you guys are interested, with John Ritland, breaking down the biggest, best, and worst movies of 2025. It's our annual review of movies of the year in 2025. But this time, we're going live for it. Unless there's any technical difficulties and I have to pre-record it and it's going to be a separate video. More likely than not, we will be live tomorrow around 11 a.m. noon Eastern time, breaking down the biggest, best, and worst movies of 2025. So stay tuned for that here on the channel tomorrow, and then again for WrestleRant Radio on Thursday. Until next time, guys, thank you again for tuning into our first episode of 2026. Great way to set the tone for 2026 in the new year. Have a very happy new year, folks. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.